Word. Here we go. Bienvenidos a todos. Bienvenidos. Buenos días. Y bienvenidos. Tengo una pantalla verde. I've got my fancy green screen on. I've got my lovely, for your viewing pleasure, we've got the very fancy ceiling of the Palau Nacional de Música, National Palace of Music, which is a concert hall in Barcelona. Very fun place to visit. We can't visit it now. Gah! Que lata, what a pain that is. But, okay. You may want to have, if you have it handy, your textbook handy. I'm not really going to reference pages, but you may want to thumb through and check some things out as we go along. I'm going to give you a little roadmap. El plan de hoy, today's plan. We did have a request to work a little bit on both, we're going to do a review of these travel vocabulary words, and also to incorporate how to talk about what you're going to do, how to talk about near future. So those two things are going to be our focus, and any questions you have as we go along, which is fine. If you wind up with a question, just in passing, feel free to either tell me straight out verbally or type it in the chat box or whatever. Sometimes with the chat box, it takes me a while to catch up with everything. But vocabulario, práctica con vocabulario hoy, práctica con el futuro, how to say going to do something. Okay, vamos a empezar. Vamos a empezar con un juego. We're going to begin with a game. Es un juego muy pequeño. It's a very small game. I'm going to actually put you guys out into the breakout room experience to do that. At least one person out of the group, but not everybody, should have, some little way to jot down some notes, whether it's on your tablet or on your computer or a piece of paper, no importa, doesn't matter. But one person for each little group should be kind of a note taker for this little game. Y vamos a ver, we're gonna see. Here is the game, and I need to eyeball this because I need to see how many rooms I will need. Okay. Cuatro. Maybe 3 rooms. Okay. Here we go. El juego es un juego de vocabulario. One of you will have to be the note taker. Y aquí tenemos el juego. The only thing I do not want you to use is a dictionary. You can use your book as a kind of a cheat guide a little bit. Un vocabulario de juego. The software is going to put you out into a random set of partners. Okay. El juego de vocabulario es palabras que empiezan con la letra C. Words that begin with the letter C. Come up with your partners, as many words as you can that begin with the letter C. Palabras que empiezan con la letra C. They can be verbs, they can be nouns, they can be prepositions, they can be anything at all. Not given names. So not, like Carmen or Carlos or anything like that, but any other vocab words that begin with C. See how many you can come up with. I'm probably going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes to do that. I'm going to set my timer so that I give you enough time to kind of get together and do that. Please keep in mind when I tell Zoom to take you into a breakout room with some partners, that you will have to hit a little button that says join. You're going to have to tell it to join. If you don't tell it join, it'll just sort of leaving you hanging there in limbo. So do hit the join button. Let's see if I can stop the share them. Palabras que comienzan con C. I need to hit my right buttons now and find the breakout rooms. Here we go. Okay, bien, okay. Adios, 3, 4 minutos, 3 or 4 rooms. Remember to hit the join. Magnifico. Okay. Bien. I'm just going to, oh, let me get rid of my screen here. Okay, I'm going to ask one person, whoever it was who took the notes, to tell me how many words you came up with in your group, and give me a quick rundown of the words. Grupo número uno. Did it tell you what you were in group 1, 2, or 3? Did I give you the number?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sí.
Bien, sí, magnífico. Okay, en el primer grupo, first group, and really it could be anybody, whoever took notes. King.
We had 33.
Why? Okay, maybe I won't ask you to take. Give me a few. You know what? Give me a quick rundown. Okay.
Camiseta, cuatros, casa, comprender, caro, comer, concierto, cinco, corona, cartena, comer, comprar, correr, contestar,
Contestar.
computadora, conocer, coleras, comera, como, cuando, canter, coro, correo electrónico,
Correo electrónico, sí, email.
and corona as in virus.
Oh, corona.
No
Sí,
cerveza.
sí, corona. En muchos sitios web yo veo, I see it como coronavirus. They make it one great big old word, you know, but yeah. And by the way, corona by itself is a legitimate word, not necessarily coronavirus. Corona is crown.
Oh, crown.
It's a crown like a king or queen would wear. Bien, okay. Más?
Oh, 25.
25, muy bien.
Café, casa, caballero, cine, cansada, comportir, comprar, con, caballo, caliente, comida, conocer, comprendre, cojates, cantina, claro, casita, caro, coche, cochera, cantar, carnita, cocina, comer.
Muy bien. Ok, vale, fantástico. Y el último grupo, last group. Anybody's the spokesman for the last group? Número 3, number 3, anybody? Oh, I think I can barely hear somebody, I'm sorry. Perdón. Can anyone else hear, or am I just going deaf? Okay. Perdón, I am so sorry, we cannot hear you. I think it is Carlos. ¿Eres tú, Carlos? We can hear like the teeniest, tiniest, little scratchiest audio from you. Perdón. It might be your microphone. Your microphone may have blipped out on you.
For group trace?
Sí.
Sí.
Okay.
23.
23, okay.
Words I don't think were captured yet. Cocinar, caminar, calle, ciudad, cumpleaños, cuánto, carta, cuál, 50, casa, comedor, contestar, centavos.
Magnífico, gracias. Vale, ok. Muy bien. Hicieron bien. You guys said well. Hicieron bien. The reason we started with la letra C is that there are just so many words, as you can see. It's one of those words that, or it's one of those letters that has gobs and gobs and gobs of examples that people learn, you know, a lot of words that begin with C. So we'll have a game that'll be a little more challenging next week, but it's a good icebreaker. Okay, bien, hicieron bien, you guys did well. We are going to meld, blend, integrate these two ideas of vocabulario de viajar vocabulary of travel with the verb ir, to go, okay? Vamos a repasar primero el verbo ir. We're going to review first, ir. You don't need to take notes because I'll send a link to everybody with this set of Google Slides, which actually you've seen already, but vale la pena, it's worth checking it back out. Okay, vamos a ver. Ir, to go, like estar and like ser, it is very irregular. So all the forms you actually use for ir don't look anything like ir, but the little mnemonic devices, you go in a van, which of course we don't pronounce it as van, but they are going to start with a V, chica, the little V, okay? It can be used to indicate going to a place, which is why this integrates really well with our review of vocabulary for travel. And it can also be used to indicate future activity, which was a request from some folks in the group here. So it's also useful for that, but we'll be doing that later in our session today. Vamos a ver, ¿cuáles son las formas de ir? ¿Cuáles son las formas? What are the forms? Ir. Comienzan con B. They all begin with the B. Voy, vas, va. Él va, ella va, usted va. See, all those three use the same form, va. Vamos, vais only if you're in Spain. And then ellos van, ellas van, ustedes van. Okay? So we can use this verb always to talk about going. And it's what they call a verb of motion, which seems kind of obvious. Ir, to go. It's a verb of motion. And verbs of motion often get this little word which is why you see this highlighted in yellow. Sometimes in Spanish, we don't really translate that word but often it translates to the word to, T-O. And in this case, we will translate it as to. You really have to use that little word after ir. Okay, because it indicates that we're now leading in with you're talking about where you're going to. After the word comes some kind of little location word. Okay, por ejemplo, entonces voy a casa, I'm going home. ¿A dónde vas? To where are you going, literally. Okay, we can just say where are you going, but in Spanish you need that a dónde because the is going to give you that rolling motion idea. ¿A dónde vas? ¿Va usted a un restaurante? Are you going to a restaurant? Okay, so that little moves in front of the word donde to make one word, but everywhere else it follows ir. Okay. Y a ver. Okay, you must use that little word when you talk about the place you're going to. Okay, so if something is coming after the form of ir, after the verb, you need that little word vamos a la farmacia. Van ustedes al metro. Are you going to the subway? Todos van al museo. They're all going to the museum. And you'll notice sometimes it's with a la, sometimes it's al. That little word al is the combination of and el put together. In Spanish, this is called a contraction, even though it doesn't have an apostrophe like an English contraction has. Al indicates that I have the two words and el next to each other, and I must blend them into one word, al. So, okay. A la, a las, a los, but an, el next to each other become that word al. Voy a los parques. I'm going to the parks. I can't use al because it's a los parques. Voy a la oficina del médico. I'm going to the doctor's office. I cannot use al there. It's a la. Vamos a las tiendas. We're going to the stores. It must be a las. But Here I need to contract it because I've got an AL example as our very last sentence. Anita va al consultorio del médico. Al consultorio, because el consultorio, you know, has got el for the word the, al, I need to blend it into al consultorio. Consultorio is just a fancier word for oficina. But consultorio generally indicates you're going into consulting with a professional, like, you know, un contador, an accountant could have a consultorio. Un médico, doctor, consultorio, he's got a consulting office, right? Un dentista tiene consultorio. A dentist would have a consultorio, an office. Okay. Vamos a usar estos. We're going to use these to review some vocabulary with viajar. And I'll ask to make sure that everybody mutes themselves so that we don't have any background noise while we do this. If you want to join in and contribute something, unmute yourself just to join in and talk for sure. Vamos a ver. Let's take a look at some review of words that we had last week. Hay muchas palabras para ticket. There are a lot of words for ticket. So depending on the region or the country you're in, you may hear any of these three words. El billete, el tiquete, el boleto. And then you may get a little de phrase after it. It'll tell you what that ticket is for. Boleto de avión, boleto de autobús, boleto de metro. You know, you may have anything like that. The de tells what kind of vehicle, what kind of mode of transportation that ticket is for. Aquí tenemos un billete. We've got a ticket. Es un billete. Clase, ¿quién sabe cómo se llama la compañía, la aerolínea? ¿Cómo se llama? What's the name of it? ¿Cómo se llama el aerolínea? And you'll have to unmute. Es Delta. Sí, es Delta. Delta es la aerolínea. Aerolínea se escribe, I will not let me write in here. Okay. El aerolínea, airline, se llama Delta. Bien. Okay. Vamos a ver. ¿Cuál es? Tengo que ver aquí. ¿Cuál es el número del vuelo? Vuelo es flight. ¿Cuál es el número del vuelo?
31.
31, ¿sí? El número del vuelo es 31. Delta 31 aquí. 31. Ok. A ver. ¿A qué hora sale? Leaves. ¿O a qué hora va? ¿A qué hora va el vuelo? El vuelo, flight. ¿A qué hora va el vuelo? ¿Cuándo sale? ¿Cuándo va el vuelo? ¿A qué hora?
3:15.
A las 3:04, no, cuarto. Sí, cuarto. Sí, sale, it leaves, va, it goes, a las 3:15. ¿Sí? Ok, muy bien. Excelente. ¿Cuál es la fecha? ¿Cuál es la fecha del vuelo? ¿Cuál es la fecha? El día y el mes. El día y el mes.
15 de diciembre.
Es el 15. Si el vuelo es el 15 de diciembre. ¿Sí? ¿Y cuál es la puerta? Gate. ¿Cuál es la puerta del vuelo?
24C. Oh, no, D3.
Ah, cuidado. Puerta es gate.
A 22.
22, 22. Y el asiento, el asiento. El asiento es 24, ¿verdad? El asiento, the seat, es el 24C. Bien, es el billete. Ok, aquí tenemos otra cosa. No es tiquete, no es boleto, no es billete. Cuando una persona va en un avión, entonces la persona tiene un billete o un boleto y una tarjeta de embarque. Una tarjeta de embarque. Tarjeta es como tarjeta, ¿sí? Tarjeta. Tarjeta de embarque es español para boarding pass. We've got a highfalutin word which came to us from the French, from the Latin, which is the same thing as this from, you know, to embark on a trip means to take off on the trip, to begin your trip. So from that very fancy English word, embark, we can kind of derive that una tarjeta de embarque is a boarding card, literally, which we call it a boarding pass. Okay, so they don't use the word paso. Paso would not mean pass in Spanish. It means pass as in a verb, but it's not the thing that we call a pass. Una tarjeta de embarque, ¿verdad? Una tarjeta de embarque y aquí, bueno, en la tarjeta de embarque, ¿cuál es la destinación? ¿A qué ciudad va el vuelo? ¿Cuál es el destino? What's the destination?
Paris.
París. Es París, en Francia. ¿Y de dónde va el vuelo? Where does it leave from? ¿De dónde va?
Madrid.
De Madrid, exacto. ¿Cuál es la fecha de la tarjeta de embarque? ¿Cuál es la fecha?
18 de julio.
Es el 18 de julio, sí. La fecha del vuelo es el 18 de julio. Muy bien. ¿A qué hora va el vuelo? ¿A qué hora va?
5:30.
A las 5:30, ¿sí? Va o sale, it leaves, a las 5:30, a las 5:30, a las 5:30, igual. ¿A qué hora abordan los pasajeros? Pasajeros son passengers. ¿A qué hora abordan?
5.
A las 5. A las 5 en punto. A las 5 en punto, on the dot, right? Exactamente, exactly. A las 5 y punto. ¿Y cuál es el asiento del pasajero? ¿Cuál es el asiento?
28.
18A, 18. Muchas veces tenemos una letra, ¿sí? Las letras indican un asiento en el avión. A y B están a la izquierda y C y D aquí a la derecha, algo así. Ok, bien. ¿Y cuál es el número del vuelo? ¿Cuál es el número del vuelo? El número tiene letras también, pero el vuelo, the flight. ¿Cuál es el número del vuelo? Is this too small to see? Or no?
Trece.
El número del vuelo es
Trece.
13, ¿sí? El vuelo 13, muy bien. Ok. ¿Cómo se dice? How does one say? ¿Cómo se dice? Ok. Tenemos cosas aquí. Vamos a usar tres cosas aquí. Vamos a hablar de las acciones que una persona toma para preparar. Y perdón, I'm sorry, that was Microsoft capitalizing that on me. Bueno, ¿cómo se llama esta cosa? This whole big thing that we use when we travel. ¿Cómo se llama? What do we call this big thing? Es azul.
Maleta.
La maleta, exacto. Es la maleta. Ok. En esta maleta tenemos muchísimas cosas. ¿Cuáles son las cosas? ¿Sí? What are these things? Which ones are they? ¿Qué?
Ropa
Ropa, bien. ¿Qué más?
y lentes.
Lentes de sol.
Sí.
Lentes de sol. También gafas de sol, depende. En algunos países se dice gafas de sol, en otros países se dice lentes de sol. Lentes, specifically in some countries, only means this part of your glasses. You know, depende. It kind of depends on regionally what they do. Okay, lentes de sol, ropa. ¿Qué más hay cerca de la maleta?
El
The
sombrero.
photo, the photo,
Para tomar fotos.
El sombrero.
cámara.
Una
La
cámara. Una cámara. ¿Qué más? What else?
El
Sombrero.
sombrero.
Un sombrero. Un sombrero también. Ok. Entonces, ¿qué llevas en la maleta? What do you take in your suitcase? Now we're not talking about la foto. No hablamos de la foto. Hablamos de tú. We're talking about you. ¿Qué llevas en tu maleta? What do you take in your suitcase? Y más específico que ropa. More specifically than clothes. ¿Qué llevas? Llevas es carry, transport, take. ¿Qué llevas?
Mi camiseta.
Una camiseta, bien.
Mis zapatos.
Zapatos, bien.
Los pantalones.
Pantalones, muy importantes. Muchas personas no llevan pantalones en Zoom. Okay, everybody's talking about people not wearing their pants on Zoom. Yo tengo sí mis pantalones. Okay, vale, ¿qué más?
Cosméticos.
¿Qué?
Cosméticos.
Oh, okay, sí, sí. Maquillaje, makeup. Para las mujeres, sí, claro, muy importante. ¿Eh? ¿Qué más? Quizás ropa interior. Ropa interior es under.
¿Posible un traje de baño?
Traje de baño. Sí, especialmente si vas a la playa. Si vas a la playa, hay que hacer la maleta con un traje de baño, muy importante. ¿Medicamentos? ¿Medicina? Quizás.
Cepillo de dentista.
Cepillo de dientes. Un cepillo de dientes, sí, es importante. Es fácil comprar un cepillo de dientes, pero es mejor llevar tu propio cepillo de dientes y pasta de dientes. Pasta. La pasta de dientes también. Ok, vale, muy bien. Viajas solo. Solo es alone or only. Aquí quiere decir, here it means, aquí quiere decir only. ¿Viajas solo con equipaje de mano?
Carry on. A carry on.
Carry-on, exacto. Equipaje de mano no es solamente maleta. Puede ser, it can be, puede ser maleta, pero es una maleta más pequeña, ¿no? Sí, una maleta más pequeña. Una maleta más pequeña. ¿Viajas solo? Do you only travel? ¿Sí? ¿Con equipaje de mano o con una maleta grande?
Solo con equipaje mano.
Equipaje de mano. Muchas veces yo viajo solo con equipaje de mano para que no pierdan mi equipaje, so they don't lose my luggage, ¿sí? Para que no tenga que esperar, wait for, sí, esperar el equipaje o la maleta. Pagas una tarifa. Aquí tarifa es fee, F-E-E. We look at that word and we think of what English word?
Tariff.
A tariff, which in English has a different meaning. It is a monetary thing, as tarifa in Espanol is a monetary thing. But, you know, tariff in English really indicates some kind of a tax, like you're importing stuff, right? Import, export things. No es en español. Aquí tarifa quiere decir a fee, just a fee. And usually, you know, an extra fee. Tarifa could be something you pay for reserving a lot in a camping spot if you camp. Tarifa could be any kind of an excess fee. In this case, what you pay for baggage. Pagas una tarifa de exceso de equipaje. Do you have to pay a tariff? ¿Sí? De exceso de equipaje. Muchas aerolíneas tienen un límite del peso weight, ¿sí? Del peso del equipaje, ¿verdad? Y si alcanzas más del límite, hay una tarifa. If you pay, you know, if you take something that weighs more, tarifa will always indicate you're being charged a fee. Para que sepan, ¿bien? Just so you know. Okay. ¿A dónde van los vuelos? En el aeropuerto tenemos una pantalla o muchas pantallas. Pantalla es screen. Some places they may refer to it as a tabla. Tabla would be like a tablet, but pantalla is screen, la pantalla. En la pantalla, en letras verdes, dice salidas. Salidas indicates what?
Leaving.
Leaving, right. Salir.
Departures.
Departures, exacto. Salir quiere decir to leave, ¿ok? Entonces, salidas son departures. Y aquí tenemos las salidas de un aeropuerto. Tenemos muchos vuelos aquí. Observations. This is where you would look to see if something is canceled or it's on time. Embarque, tarjeta de embarque means boarding pass. Embarque is going to mean that what's the status of the flight?
It's boarding.
It's boarding. It's right. That people are getting on now. Better hustle it. Okay. UL llamada is a little abbreviation for última llamada, last
Call.
call. Now that's worse than embarque. Wow, you better hustle. Okay. Embarque cerrado means boarding is
Closed.
Closed. Oh, you're out of luck. Okay. Estima is kind of short for estimada, estimated time. So in this case, 16 y 11, wow, you're looking at it's delayed from the original embarque, the point of departure. And notice a lot of times when one travels abroad, they may use, it is pretty common to use military time instead of our, 12-hour kind of thing. So it's not at all unusual in a lot of countries to see this kind of military time. 13 is really 1 p.m. and counts up from there. I mentally have to. Para mí es difícil calcular la hora así. Ok, aquí tenemos 3 vuelos a Barcelona, 3 vuelos a Barcelona. Hay 2 vuelos a Bilbao. Hay 2 vuelos a Múnich en Alemania, ¿verdad? Un vuelo a Gatwick. 2 vuelos a Melilla. No sé dónde está. Iberia. It must be a place in Spain. Okay, son salidas. These are
Your exit.
departures.
Departure.
Okay. Y más aquí, cancelado, demora. Instead of seeing delayed, you may see the word demora, which means a delay. But llegadas will be arrivals, salidas will be departures, right? And these 2 words are nouns, llegadas, arrivals. Llegadas is based on llegar, to arrive, to get to a place. Salidas is based on that word salir, to leave. Okay, and anytime you see the word puerta, that indicates the gate. Puerta. Okay, a ver, una cosita más. Se usa pasar muchísimo para hablar. También ir, pasar, ir to go, pasar, to pass, or to indicate that you're going through an area. They'll often use, instead of ir, pasar por. Y pasar es un verbo muy fácil. Pasar es un verbo regular. Entonces, paso, pasas, pasa. Pasamos, pasan, así. Pasar por, to go through. That word por has many translations. One is for, F-O-R. One is through. Pasar por seguridad. Pasar por seguridad o la seguridad. Seguridad es
Security.
security, seguridad. I-T-Y, security, en inglés D-A-D, en español, seguridad. O pasar por la aduana. Otro vocabulario muy importante es pasar por la aduana. La aduana es
Customs.
customs.
We're supposed to
Customs, which we use as plural, en español se dice la aduana. La aduana, ¿sí? Customs. Okay. Y otro vocabulario importante a veces es la parada de autobús. Once you're leaving, cuando se va, cuando sales del aeropuerto, when you leave the airport, you could be taking a bus to connect you someplace else. La parada de autobús. Parada is a stop. Parada de autobús, a bus.
A stop.
Stop, exacto. Sí, un taxi es obvio. Taxi es obvio. Pero otras cosas, la estación de tren would be a train station. La estación de metro would be a subway station. Así. Muy bien. Ok. Además de hablar con ir, to go, Sometimes we use ir not to talk about going to places, but ir to indicate future. And I'm going to pop, you can see this up now, right? See?
Mhm.
You're still going to have that little word dangling after the form of ir. But if you want to say that you're going to do something, and usually indicating kind of a close future, something you're going to do soon. This is a really super common way to say that you intend to do something. So you just conjugate the verb ir. We have to stick that little word afterwards. And then we use an infinitive. We don't conjugate the second verb. That second verb tells what the action is that somebody plans to do or is going to do. Okay? Entonces, los ejemplos que tenemos aquí, voy a comer. I'm going to eat. Vamos a escuchar. We're going to listen. Ellos van a tomar un taxi. They're going to take a taxi. See? Mi amigo va a pagar. My friend is going to pay. And notice if you've got that phrase saying va a pagar, you're not going to hear people separating out va a pagar. It's all going to sound like that. Va runs together. Va a pagar. You're just going to hear the ahs more drawn out. Right? They won't pronounce them as two separate words, even though written down they are two separate words. Mi amigo va a pagar. Okay. What if we want to make it negative to say that I'm not going to do something? We just put in what extra little word?
No.
No. Where would that little word no come into play? What's the right word order? If I look at voy a comer, where does the word no go?
No voy a comer.
No voy a comer, right. In English, I'm not going. En español, no enfrente de la forma de ir. No has to be in front of the verb. No voy a comer, no vamos a escuchar, ellos no van a tomar un taxi, mi amigo no va a pagar. Okay, ¿está bien? I'm going to put you back out into a breakout room. And I want one person again to be kind of a little note taker. I'd like you guys to practice a little, come up with 5 things, 5 cosas, 5 things that you're going to do, or it might be a combination of things you are going to do and you're not going to do. Mix it up with some negatives. Maybe you want to talk about what your kids are going to do, what your husband's going to do, what we're going to do, what we're not going to do. No vamos a tener una clase juntos en Scottsdale. We're not going to have a class together in Scottsdale. Okay? I want you to come up with 5 ejemplos, ¿verdad? 5, using ir, a, and an extra infinitive to talk about what somebody is going to do, whether you're talking about yourself or all of us, o lo que sea. ¿Está bien? We're good so far? ¿Sí? Okay. Vamos a ver. Para practicar. We'll take people out. Ooh, they changed the format a little bit, un poquito. Okay, I'm going to open it up. Remember, you know what? I'm going to add a room. Wow. Whoops. Momentito. It populated this a little bit screwy. Hang on, let me get out of that for a minute. Let's try this again. For some reason, it's doing 3, 3, and 1. Cynthia, you may be stuck with me. I got to figure out how to get the button. You're okay. Estás bien. You're okay with that? Okay. I'll bug out of this. Cynthia, I'll join you because for some reason it broke people out into like you by yourself, which is totally unproductive. I'll give you guys about 5 minutes, 5 minutes to come up with some examples, and then we'll get back together. Remember to hit the join button. ¿Están bien? ¿Tienen preguntas? You have questions before we go off into this or no? No. Okay, vale. Okay, bien. Hola, Cynthia. Are you there? ¿Estás aquí, allí? You there? Okay, magnífico. Vamos a practicar. Tú y yo. You're stuck with me, perdón. Okay. Bien. Voy a empezar. I'll begin. ¿Sí? Voy a empezar. Bueno, vamos a limpiar el baño muy bien. Vamos a limpiar muy bien el baño. We're going to clean the bathroom really well.
Okay.
No me gusta limpiar el baño, pero vamos a limpiar el baño. Ok, otro ejemplo. Para tú. Some example, para ti, for an example for you.
Okay. Voy a tomar la clase de español en el verano.
Bien, voy a tomar la clase de español. Para ti es muy importante. Muy bien, me gusta. Por ejemplo, otro ejemplo. Mi esposo va a trabajar en su oficina que está arriba. It's upstairs, ¿sí? Está arriba en el segundo piso de la casa. Mi esposo va a trabajar en su oficina.
No voy a la playa.
Sí, no voy a la playa. Qué lástima. What a shame. No voy a la playa. Sí, mi familia y yo no vamos de vacaciones. My family and I were not going on.
Vacation.
Qué triste, qué triste, qué triste. No vamos de vacaciones este verano, this summer, no vamos de vacaciones, o no vamos a tomar vacaciones. Ok. Algo más. Something else. Se me olvidó. Wow, I forgot to set my timer.
Voy al supermercado.
Vas al supermercado, bien. Vas a comprar fruta vas a comprar fruta en el supermercado.
Sí. Muchas
Sí.
frutas.
Muchas frutas. Ok, está bien. Yo voy a comprar una bolsa de café en Sprouts mañana porque está en promoción. Está en promoción. It's on sale. Está en promoción. Entonces voy a comprar una bolsa de un saco de café. Bueno, mi hija va a estudiar para sus exámenes en ASU, en la universidad. Bien.
Voy a la biblioteca para un libro.
Para un libro, ok. ¿Está abierta la biblioteca? Is the library?
How do you say drive-through?
¿Perdón?
Drive-through?
Oh, sí.
Paso expreso?
Paso no sé exactamente drive-through. Tengo que buscar la palabra para drive-through. Existe. Muy interesante. Ok, bien. Vale, magnífico. Buenos ejemplos. Good examples. I'm going to have them do a countdown, so it's going to take me out of this.
Okay.
And I'm going to call folks back, get a few examples. Ok, está bien.
Can't hear you.
I can hear you now.
Gracias,
now.
gracias. Ahora, mejor? Gracias, Trish. Thank you for telling me that. I couldn't see my little mute button. Okay. Bien, fantástico. ¿Algunos de ustedes quieren compartir? Do you want to share? ¿Quieren compartir los ejemplos? Some of your examples? Okay. I'll open it up. Anybody who wants to talk.
Vamos a correr después de la clase.
La clase. Van a correr.
Sí.
Van a correr. Muy bien. Van a hacer ejercicio. They're going to do exercise. Van a hacer ejercicio. Van a correr. Magnífico. ¿Qué más?
Mi perro y yo vamos a caminar.
Mi perro y yo vamos a caminar. My dog and I are going to walk. Me gusta muchísimo. ¿Qué más?
No voy a ir al cine esta semana.
No voy a ir. I'm not going to go. That is how you're going to say. Yeah. No voy a ir al cine. No voy a ir al cine.
Esta semana.
Movie theater. Esta semana, this week.
Voy a leer un libro.
Voy a leer un libro. Magnífico, sí. ¿Algo más?
Voy a preparar la comida para la familia.
Ok. Voy a preparar. Voy a preparar la comida. I'm going to prepare.
Preparar, sí.
Muy bien. Bueno, más ejemplos.
No voy a jugar al gimnasio.
No voy a jugar al gimnasio. Jugar, sí, play. Gimnasio, los gimnasios están cerrados. Están cerrados, ¿verdad? Bien, ¿algo más? ¿Sí o no?
Vamos a estudiar español.
Vamos a estudiar español. Vamos a estudiar español, exacto. Personalmente, yo voy a pintar una parte de mi casa, de la exterior de mi casa. Tengo que reparar la exterior de mi casa. No me gusta. Bien, muy bien.
Divertido.
Sí, dime.
No
tell me.
no es divertido.
No es divertido. No es divertido. No me gusta limpiar, no me gusta lavar la ropa, no me gusta reparar la casa. Pero ahora tengo tiempo y ahora tengo que hacerlo. Okay, muy bien. I am going to give you some tarea. I'm going to give you some homework, and Scott may be the only person who doesn't have this. Scott, I'll send you kind of a file that'll show you what to look at with this, so don't worry about it. There is a very small section in this book that has some nice little drills on ir for talking about the future. En la página 82, 83, 84, 82, 83, 84. And Scott, I'm pretty sure you don't have the book, so I'll do a couple screenshots, put them on a file, and I'll send it out in a mass email so people can see it. What it's going to do is just do a little more drill on how to use this, because it's really super useful when you want to talk with somebody about what you want to do, even though it isn't the word want, what you plan on doing, just using that simple verb of ir. The other thing I think we're going to do next week, unless somebody has a burning question that they email me about in the coming week, is we're going to have some questions next week that will also drill a little bit or do a review of using interrogative words with questions. So it'll be a lot about using those who, what, when, where, why, interrogative question words, and integrating a question, like what street do you live on? Like, what do you need to buy? Like, how much money have you got in your wallet? Anything, when are you leaving? When are you coming back? All those things use interrogatives. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you answer questions, because that's going to require you to change verb, and how to pull into that question words, which, typically you won't always have a yes, no kind of question posed. Or frankly, you may need to ask other people for information too. And the question you want to ask may not be as simple as a yes, no question. You may need to know what time, when an event happens, okay, or where something is located. So we're going to combine verbs, how to answer questions with verbs, and interrogatives. If you've got other ideas for things you want to do, please do email me. But that's kind of my general plan for next week, so that you get a chance to interact with people online. ¿Está bien?
Está bien.
Bueno, hay preguntas. Are there any questions?
No, gracias.
Eso es, that's it. Magnífico. Okay, vamos a terminar la sesión aquí. We're going to end our session here, and I'll send out an email that will have the YouTube link. I know some folks said they had appointments, people coming to fix the house. We'll have them able to get the link to the YouTube video of this, and the homework list, and number 3, what we're going to plan to do for next week. ¿Está bien?
Está bien.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Que de nada, de nada. Que tengan buena semana. Have a good week. Y hasta luego.
Bye-bye.
Luego.